Welcome to the Jasad Heir, the inspiring tale of a girl who just wants to mind her business, in a world absolutely determined to make that impossible. Truly, a comfort read, if your idea of comfort is generational trauma sprinkled with war crimes. Before we continue with the story, making our videos takes plenty of caffeine, chaos, and too many snacks, but we love every moment of it. If you enjoy our unhinged humor and dramatic recaps, please like, subscribe, and comment. It helps us keep creating more ridiculous, story-driven chaos and tells YouTube we exist. Stick around, join the madness, and help this little corner of the internet grow. Now, back to the story. We begin in a quiet little village, the kind of place where nothing interesting ever happens unless you count livestock drama and the occasional oppressive patrol. Living here is Sylvia. Yes, that's Sylvia, the last surviving heir of the obliterated kingdom of Jasad. The one the world thinks is dead. The one who really wants to keep it that way. She spent 10 years pretending to be aggressively average, like if background character number 7 was a full-time job. To keep her magic hidden, because magic is outlawed and punishable by a very permanent kind of punishment, Sylvia wears silver cuffs that suppress her powers. These little fashion accessories are the only thing standing between her and getting instantly recognized as the walking political disaster she actually is. Her daily schedule is simple. Don't use magic. Don't accidentally use magic. Don't get executed for magic. Avoid soldiers. And try, for once, to make it through the day without trauma resurfacing like an uninvited house guest. But obviously, this is a fantasy novel, so peace is illegal. Enter Arin of Nizal, crown prince, professional brooder, and heir to the empire responsible for burning Sylvia's entire kingdom into nothing but scenic rubble. He's hunting rebels in the area, and of course, his search leads him straight to Sylvia's allegedly boring village. Because when you're trying to avoid destiny, destiny likes to show up early and ask if you've missed it. While Sylvia is desperately trying to blend in with the scenery, a moment of danger forces her to use her magic publicly. Brilliant move. Subtle as yelling, "I'm the lost heir" through a megaphone. Arin sees it, obviously. The man may be morally complicated, but he's not blind. Instead of killing her, he offers her a deal. The kind of deal you accept when the alternative involves being hunted like a woodland creature. She must become his champion in a grand upcoming tournament. Yes, a tournament. Because what's a high-stakes fantasy world without throwing the traumatized protagonist into a public spectacle surrounded by enemies? Sylvia wants absolutely nothing to do with this. She wants quiet. She wants safety. She wants a life that doesn't involve accidentally restarting a war, but life looks at her wish list and says, "Cute, anyway," so she accepts. Just like that, her carefully constructed anonymity shatters. The village becomes a memory, and Sylvia is dragged back into a world of politics, power, long-buried secrets, and one prince with a tragic backstory and a talent for ruining her week. Welcome to the chaos! It only gets worse from here. Arin parades Sylvia straight into Nizal territory, where she's surrounded by soldiers, nobles, and people who would absolutely love to arrest her. Stab her or politely execute her for the crime of existing comforting. He insists she'll be safe, which is hilarious because every time a prince in a fantasy novel says, "Trust me," someone ends up emotionally damaged or literally dead. Upon arrival at the training grounds, Sylvia meets the other champions, a collection of powerful fighters who have one thing in common. They are definitely not wearing magic-suppressing jewelry and hoping no one notices they're a wanted heir. They're trained, disciplined, dangerous. Sylvia is sarcastic, traumatized, and hasn't used magic freely in 10 years. But sure, totally fair matchup. Arin starts training her personally, which is awkward for multiple reasons. He's the heir of the empire that wiped out her kingdom. He seems frustratingly competent. He keeps trying to understand her, which is frankly rude. He insists she's capable of winning, and nothing is more suspicious than a prince being encouraging. Sylvia, meanwhile, tries very hard to avoid using magic, not just because it could expose her identity, but because her power is deeply tied to grief, trauma, and a past she's spent years trying to bury. Every time she taps into it, memories hit her like a brick to the face. The fall of Jasad, the slaughter, the screams, fun times. Of course, hiding magic during a tournament that literally tests magical skill is about as easy as hiding a dragon in a broom closet. Sylvia keeps slipping, small bursts of power, flickers of energy, and Arin keeps noticing he doesn't push, but he watches, closely, which is great for plot tension, but terrible for Sylvia's blood pressure. We also meet Arin's inner circle, a group of soldiers and strategists who are loyal to him and deeply suspicious of Sylvia. They don't know who she is, but they know she's weird, untrained, and somehow involved with their crown prince. They question Arin's motives, which is fair because even Sylvia doesn't know Arin's motives. Why does he need her? Why her, of all people? Why a girl who can barely keep her magic under control without having a panic attack? As the tournament approaches, tensions rise. Competitors train harder. Politics tighten. Whispers spread through Nizal about rebellions, assassins, and dangerous magic resurfacing. And Sylvia? She tries to survive another day without exploding, magically or emotionally. But hey, at least things can't get more complicated, right? The first rounds begin, and shocker, the challenges are absolutely not designed for people who are trying to hide world-altering magic. They're tests of strength, wit, endurance, and yes, magical skill. Sylvia is basically playing on nightmare difficulty while everyone else is on medium. Naturally, Sylvia tries to survive using the absolute minimum amount of magic possible, which is adorable, considering every trial seems specifically engineered to kill her if she doesn't use it. The obstacles push her physically and mentally, dragging up every shard of trauma she's been avoiding for a decade. You know, casual, emotional disintegration. Meanwhile, Aaron is hovering like a morally conflicted storm cloud. He pretends he's just making sure she doesn't die, but the man watches her like she's a puzzle with too many missing pieces, and every time Sylvia slips and uses more magic than she intended, that look in his eyes sharpens. Curiosity, suspicion, something else he'd never admit out loud. The political tension is just as brutal as the tournament itself. Each champion represents a different faction or house, and all of them have agendas. Some want prestige, some want power, some just want Sylvia gone because she's clearly not normal and absolutely hiding something, and whispers spread. Who is she? Where did Aaron find her? Why does he protect her this much? Even better, rebel activity spikes across the Empire, and rumors of Jasad Heir survivors begin circulating again. Perfect timing for the actual Jasad Heir to be standing in the middle of an arena, sweating and hoping no one recognizes her cheekbones. As Sylvia fights through trial after trial, memories of Jasad start slipping into her mind. Her family, the destruction, the desperate escape. The weight of what she survived and what she's pretending not to be presses harder each day. Her magic responds to it, growing more unstable, more insistent, more tied to her emotions than ever. Because if there's anything magic loves, it's dramatic timing. And then comes the moment no one asked for. Sylvia and Aaron get forced into one of those intense, emotionally charged training sessions. The kind where they're too close, too annoyed, too aware of each other, and definitely not dealing with their unresolved trauma in a healthy way. Aaron pushes her to unlock her strength. Sylvia pushes back because, you know, she'd like to stay alive and anonymous, thanks. But every time they clash, something shifts. Not enough to be romantic, yet, but enough to make both extremely uncomfortable. As the next trial looms, harsher, deadlier, and about to expose far too much, Sylvia feels the walls closing in. She knows she can't keep pretending forever. Her magic knows it too. The question isn't if she'll be exposed, it's when and who will be standing close enough to watch the fallout. The next phases of the tournament crank everything up. The tests become more dangerous, the stakes sharper, and Sylvia, she's running out of ways to pretend she's just a scrappy, moderately talented nobody. Her magic is responding to danger faster than she can suppress it, slipping through cracks in the silver cuffs like, "Hey, remember me? Trauma but sparkly." Other champions start noticing too. Not what she is, but that she's clearly not normal. She moves like someone trained long ago. She reacts like someone who's seen too much. Her power flares at the worst moments. Small flashes, quick bursts, still enough to spark suspicion. And the political climate? Absolutely not helping. Rebel activity spreads across the Empire. Rumors rise that a Jasad Heir might have survived. A rumor Sylvia personally hates for obvious reasons. Nizal's elite begin tightening their guard, questioning everyone, especially the strange champion Aaron dragged in from nowhere. Speaking of Aaron, he becomes even more of a problem. He's watching her too closely now, asking the wrong questions. Every time he connects one more dot, Sylvia panics internally while pretending everything is fine externally. Truly an award-winning performance. But he's not the only danger. One of the champions, a man whose ego is bigger than his sword, decides Sylvia is an obstacle or a threat and tests her publicly. Bad idea. Sylvia tries so hard to hold back. But instinct and terror override reason, and her magic erupts in a moment too powerful to ignore. Not a small spark, not a flicker, but a burst that would make any Jasad Heir survivor go, "I know that magic." And someone does, a figure within the tournament, connected to old loyalties, old history, old hatred, recognizes the signature of her power. They don't reveal it immediately, but the knowledge hangs in the air like a blade. Aaron, of course, confronts Sylvia soon after. Not with accusations, but with that infuriatingly quiet intensity that says, "I know you're lying, but I'm annoyingly patient." Sylvia dodges, deflects, delivers premium sarcasm to hide the terror bleeding through her bones. But Aaron isn't fooled. He knows something major is coming and that he won't be ready for it. As tensions rise and alliances strain, Sylvia feels the tightrope she's been walking for years snap, strand by strand. Her magic, her past, her identity, everything she's buried is clawing its way to the surface. And the next trial? Yeah, that's the one that finally blows everything open. The next major trial arrives, and it's designed to be spectacularly deadly, because apparently the Empire believes public execution is classier when disguised as entertainment. The champions enter the arena, the crowds scream, politics simmer, and Sylvia is mentally chanting, "Don't use magic, don't use magic, don't." But the trial quickly becomes a disaster buffet. Everything that could go wrong does. Competitors turn vicious, enchanted constructs go wild, the environment fights back, and Sylvia is pushed to the absolute edge her body gives out long before her instincts do. And then the moment strikes. Cornered, overwhelmed, and seconds from being skewered like a decorative kebab, Sylvia's magic explodes. Not a spark, not a flicker, not a cute little oopsie, no. Full uncontrolled world-shaking surge of raw Jasadi power that lights up the entire arena like someone dropped a magical nuclear flare. The silver cuffs snap, her restraint snaps, the lie snaps, everything snaps. The audience gasps, the champions freeze, the guards panic. And Aaron, his face basically says, so that's what you've been hiding. Fantastic. Because anyone with a brain, or even a brain cell, he knows exactly what kind of power Sylvia just unleashed. And there's only one kind of person in the entire world capable of producing it. A Jasadi. A royal Jasadi. The Jasad Heir. The Empire's most inconvenient survivor. Chaos erupts instantly. The tournament halts. Soldiers rush in. Aaron reaches her first, not to strike, but to shield. Because apparently his character arc has decided he's invested now, which is wildly inconvenient for literally everyone. His allies stare at him like he's lost his mind. Sylvia, half-conscious and panicking, is too drained to argue. And then, as if matters weren't complicated enough, the rebels seize their moment. Because remember those rumors spreading throughout Nizahal? Yeah, those weren't just rumors. Rebel forces strike at the arena, targeting multiple political enemies and definitely aiming to extract Sylvia like she's the world's rarest collectible. They know exactly who she is, and they're ready to reclaim their symbol, their heir, their lost future. The battle hits fast and brutal. Aaron tries to secure Sylvia. Rebels try to take her, Imperial forces try to kill her, and Sylvia, overwhelmed by trauma, power, and injuries, drifts in and out as the world literally fights over her unconscious body. Eventually, one side gains the upper hand, but not the one Sylvia would have chosen. When she wakes, everything has changed. Her identity is exposed, her past is no longer avoidable, and the Empire, along with Aryan, now has to decide what to do with the living symbol of everything they destroyed. Congratulations, Sylvia, you've officially hit no going back. When Sylvia wakes up after the arena chaos, she's not in a cozy infirmary with a fruit basket and emotional support blanket. She's in custody, Imperial custody, and the room is filled with tension, thick enough to cut with a butter knife. Everyone knows who she is now. No more hiding behind sarcasm and silver cuffs. She is the Jasad Heir, the kingdom Nizahal thought they erased. Aaron tries to handle the situation with something resembling diplomacy, but he's in deep trouble. His own people question his judgment, his loyalty, and honestly, his sanity. Helping the heir of their enemy is not exactly on the Nizahal-approved behavior list. His advisors practically light him on fire with their eyes whenever he defends Sylvia. And just when she thinks things can't get more complicated, the rebels who tried to take her from the arena return with an offer. Join them, lead them, become the queen they've been waiting for. Sylvia's response? Very enthusiastic. Absolutely not. Can everyone please stop trying to recruit me? I'm literally traumatized. The rebels don't care. They see her as hope, as salvation, as their big, shiny political weapon. Sylvia sees them as yet another group trying to shove her into a role she never wanted. Arena and Sylvia are now trapped in a delicious mess of distrust and reluctant alliance. He needs her alive. She needs him to keep the Empire from executing her. They both need each other to not make everything worse. Which is tragic because making things worse is Sylvia's full-time job lately. Through political confrontations, tense conversations, and a lot of, we should talk about this, but definitely won't. The two begin facing the reality of their world. Empires crumble, kingdoms burn, and the truth has a nasty habit of resurfacing. And in the final stretch, Sylvia makes the only choice she can, one that protects her people, confronts her past, and sets the stage for something far bigger than a tournament. She steps into her identity. Not willingly, not gracefully, but powerfully. The ending sends her down a path she can't escape, toward rebellion, toward responsibility, and toward a war that she's no longer able to outrun. And Aaron? Well, let's just say he's not done being part of her problem or her solution. Or both. Mostly both. Sylvia may have survived the tournament, but now she has to survive the consequences. So, what did you think of the Jasad Heir? If you enjoyed watching one girl spend 400 plus pages trying and failing spectacularly to avoid fate, hide her magic, and dodge political murder, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you thought this story was intense, adorable, because the sequel, The Jasad Crown, takes all of this chaos, throws it into a blender, adds more rebellion, more secrets, and about 10 extra layers of emotional damage, and then presses puree. Until next time, stay sharp, trust no empire, keep your magic cuffs on tight, and if someone asks you to enter a tournament for your own good, run fast!